I would love an argument that wasn't subject verb Joe Biden. That's first. Respectfully, that is the definition of gaslighting.
You cannot come up with $880 billion in cuts in the Energy and Commerce Committee without cutting into Medicaid.
Let's hop into another brutal takedown of MAGA Republican Nicole Malliotakis stock tips. If you know, you know. But this is following the upset win by Democrat Susan Crawford in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, despite almost $30 million being spent by Elon to kind of, sway the favor of that election. But be sure to leave us a like before we get too much into it. Helps our channel out a bunch. And other than that, let's jump right in.
These are people that Joe Biden let in through his policies.
They were rounded up.
And you're going to criticize the mistake of somebody who is deported?
Respectfully, that is the definition of gaslighting. Because what we're saying is all five of us on this set tonight can look you in the eye and say that if you committed any of those crimes, then you should be deported immediately. You should serve your sentence and go home immediately.
Yes, but they were let in. That's the bottom line. You're more concerned about the one guy that was deported than the millions of people that were let in illegally that went on to wreak havoc in cities like mine.
First of all, I would love an argument that wasn't subject verb Joe Biden. That's first.
I mean, he cooked her with that right there, the entire argument over. The entire MAGA defense of anything wrong or bad that happens for their side is literally blah, blah, Biden. Even when they leaked classified battle plans, it was, well, Biden had signal on it before us. Like, they literally can't without saying but Biden. I would love to, first off, just know the Biden policy that let them in, because the spike started under Trump and was handed to Biden, where Republicans then shot down his border bill in 2021. The U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021, by the way, to be specific, would have had more border security, more border control for fentanyl, things like that. He put that forth in week one. They then shut down his second attempt in 2023 as well. So if anything, this entirely falls on House Republicans. Anyone who was let in, it falls on House Republicans letting them in for refusing to let the president legislate. Joe Biden, without them, still eventually was able to get border numbers lower to what Trump had them when he left office. But despite any of those objective facts, none of it justifies, one, deporting legal residents who haven't committed a crime, or two, anyone without due process. How do you know they're undocumented? How do you know they've committed a crime? How do you know they're in a gang without due process? I love to MAGA that it's never trust the government unless they're doing racism. Then it's blindly trust the government.
Definitely waiting.
You know what else matters? What else matters? Turnout patterns. Democrats today are the party of the hyper-educated and the elites and the wealthy. They turn out more in small turnout elections. It's just a fact that Republicans are a working class party now. We need massive turnout to win. It flips political conventional wisdom on its head. But that's why
the turnout was high.
Astronomical levels of cope. Let's just look at top donors for the 2024 election. The top 7 were billionaires giving hundreds of millions of dollars to get Trump elected. 8 of the top 10 were billionaires giving to Trump to get him elected, equating to over $1 billion just from the top 1%, comparatively to 110 million for Democrats, where his cabinet has I think 13 billionaires, a net worth in the hundreds of billions. This is without counting Elon, the literal richest man in the world, who is he is basically in the cabinet. He goes to cabinet meetings. He's also trying to cut Social Security, cut Medicaid, cut Medicare, cut food stamps, and more. What part of any of this is party of the workers? It's even more hilarious when you realize, as Abby said, and party of the workers doing mass layoffs also of middle-class federal workers. But as Abby said, there literally was a high voter turnout, and these clowns still got shit on in an election where the richest man in the world was paying people $1 million to vote his way. But yeah, party of the workers.
Language comes out, then you could be critical of what we decide to do.
What is really happening right now is that Donald Trump is cutting hundreds of billions of dollars out of HHS for biomedical research. He is cutting VA services. He's firing VA employees who are providing direct services to our nation's veterans. And their budget blueprint, according to economic experts, say that you cannot come up with $880 billion in cuts in the Energy and Commerce Committee without cutting into Medicaid.
The entire MAGA defense is just obfuscate and prolong taking accountability. And then when you're absolutely forced to take accountability, you're just like, well, yeah, I did it. So what? It's good for you. We can see their budget resolution right now. Why wait for the full bill for them to just inevitably be like, yeah, this is what we're doing? We know for a fact Right now, they will be cutting into Medicaid by the millions at least. We know for a fact right now that they will not be passing no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. We also know for a fact right now they're cutting medical research, firing VA workers, closing Social Security offices, trying to close the phone program. We don't have to wait for these things. It's already happening. We already know these things. Tell us why now. Don't tell us why in 2 months. And that's why we saw this Wisconsin Supreme Court election go the way it did. A state that Trump won flipped Democrat already, not even 2 months into the Trump presidency, because he is failing the American people. He is doing so drastically, and everyone not bought into the cult knows it. Even Republican voters are revolting. That is why a state that Trump won just resulted in a landslide victory for Democrats.